Welcome to the Benner Business Podcast. My name is Cliff. I am one of your hosts. I'm joined here with the lovely
Sydney. It sounds weird to say. Usually I'm Babe.
Yeah, we usually go by Babe. And I mean, it's weird to say my own name, let alone hear it anymore, but yeah, we are your podcast hosts or video hosts, however you're viewing slash listening to this. And on our podcast, we believe business is the way to get what you want, and that starts with having a why.
Mm-hmm.
And we went over that, I think, our
Right.
second episode, maybe one of
Yeah.
those two, was the most important part of your business is why. And we discussed that, and what comes with that as well has been kind of a series of videos we've done.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the topic today, which is our mindset, is one of the pillars of how to make yourself prepared, get ready, and how to interact with business and kind of propel your business to where it needs to be to make your why happen. Our why is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have the freedom for financials, the freedom to do what we want, work what we want. And one day we hope to have a family. We have the freedom to be able to spend all of our time with them if we want to, or have cows,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Just we want to do what we want. That's our
Yeah.
why. So, on this episode, we're going to talk about mindset and why it's important, how we learned mindset was important, and kind of just the roadblocks that come with it. So, I'm excited for this episode. I think we've gone with talking about a few things that have constantly come up, and a mindset has been one of them, and really
Mm-hmm.
helps you get there for your business, but also be able to make decisions you got to do in your business and do
And it
pretty much
just
everything.
makes you whole as a person too, because I think business teaches you a lot about yourself.
It's um like a constant mirror,
Yeah.
like an
It shows
identity
who
mirror. Yeah.
who you are in the sense, and then what you need to work on as a person.
Hmm.
And the mindset is huge regardless if you're a W-2 job, a 1099 business owner. It's a huge part of who we are.
Yeah. It definitely, I think it changes like the mindset of W-2 versus business owner
Oh
and
yeah,
investor entrepreneur is they're just substantially different.
I agree. But there's also parts in this, like when you start combining them, that you start learning who you are, what you don't like,
Hmm.
and you know the differences between being a business owner versus being a W-2 job
Hmm.
person. And you're like, oh, okay, well, as a business owner, this is how I feel about this, or this is the way I act as a business owner.
Hmm.
But as an employee, I don't do what I do as a business owner. My mindset is completely different within certain times.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we're different right now. You're in corporate and I'm in a
Mhm.
very in small business
Yeah.
for where we work. And I think that's a substantial difference.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little
I
bit we talk
agree.
about it, but like I was in corporate. I worked for a big public accounting firm. And I went to a small business with a promotion, and it was better all around for me and my goals in life. So like when I moved there, it was very different.
I bet.
And the mindset, like even like we started becoming business owners while I was at that place.
Hmm.
And then we went through stuff and it was hard.
Hmm.
And when I moved to this new place, the mindset, you were just talking about having the W-2 and the business owner mindset. And so sometimes it's like the Venn diagram where they overlap and both of them go in that little middle part where like for me moving to the small business from corporate, they overlap more because the small business allows that.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be a nice difference that people are going to be able to listen to and watch is you have that corporate one
Yep.
and the small
I do.
business and they're you know yours kind of when they overlap it's limited
Yes.
compared to mine which overlaps more.
Yes. Mine are two different things. Because corporate,
Hmm.
you're kind of, you got processes for processes for processes. but you don't really know why you're doing that process. You're just like, you have to.
Yeah, nobody can answer that because it's from above. It's from above. It's from above. Somebody else made that happen.
Yeah.
Somebody made that change. But also, like, what's the process for changing something?
And see, that's the thing is who knows? Because, for example, in what I'm doing, there's people who don't even work on property, for example. I've never met the person.
Mhm.
And there's even a department that I don't even understand what they do. I just get random emails and I'm like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah. So like and that's kind of the mindset of everything too, of how different, like we're both in W2, but even the mindset's different there
Mm-hmm.
because the mindset for different types of, different businesses and how they are is different as well. So I think this is gonna be fantastic and like just kind of letting people know and making sure that maybe affirming what they believe they thought was true on how they believe and how they think it, stuff like that. Um, I think it'll be a good episode to get into.
Let's get into it.
All right. So mindset, being there, being part of everybody. Everybody has this. It's a human thing. It's part of our emotions.
Mhm.
But would you say there is a difference in mindset between a W-2 person who's not a business owner, they just want to be an employee, versus someone who is a business owner?
I would think so. Because I feel like if you're a W-2 job, your goal is to climb the corporate ladder.
Hmm.
Where as a business owner, your goal is to not work for someone else, but to work for yourself. Where, and then also that brings in a whole nother thing of a business owner is willing to accept failure more, in my opinion, than a W-2 person. Because their consequences is, oh, do better next time. Where a
Hmm.
business owner, you don't get a paycheck.
Yeah.
So you take ownership, you say, okay, yes, I didn't do that right.
Hmm.
Here's what my business is going to do to improve.
Yeah.
And then they talk about how to improve it. It looks like you were going to say something.
Yes, I was about to say, I think a big thing too that makes the mindset different for W-2 employees versus business owners is like if you mess up as a W-2 employee, it's easy to push the blame. And it's very possible. And like I did it
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes that's all you could do. The reason I did this was because this is how I was taught. This is what I was told we have to do here.
Mm-hmm.
And the business, the manager, people high up told me this is what has to happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of um like a couple like laws that people, you have to abide by them even if you don't agree with them. So like you messed up, but like you messed up because you were doing it the way you have to.
Exactly. And the hard thing is when you're trained
Yeah,
to do one thing,
told to do it
you're
different.
told to do it different. So
And
now you're in a convoluted area of, okay, who's right then?
yeah.
Where as a business owner, you're just like, I put these in place for this reason.
Hmm. And with like that, being a thing for as an employee is because it is kind of easy to push blame and not take responsibility.
Mhm.
It is a little easier. I've done it. I've been guilty of it. I'm sure our viewers, listeners have done it too. They think back and more truthful with themselves. But as a business owner, when you fail, you failed.
Yeah.
You control your processes. You control what happens. You make the decisions.
Mhm.
When you fail, it is because of you.
Yeah.
And
Same if you have employees under your business.
they fail, it's because of you.
Yeah.
And you have to learn. I mean, that's a
But if
huge
you're
thing.
corporate, that's a whole different game. So we're not going to go into that
Oh,
gray
yeah.
area, but
Well,
that's a whole different
yeah.
area.
When in terms of this podcast, a lot of the things we talk about is small business. We believe
Mhm.
small business is the best way to go because of
The
you,
personal
yeah,
connection.
I mean, it is so personal when you get somebody who comes in and, their spouse, their family, and they love working with you, and they had a sense of pride of working for you because you're such a good boss. That rarely you ever hear anybody in the corporate world who's like, this place is great because of this. They usually their bosses make it good.
Mm-hmm.
But when their bosses leave, they
Mm-hmm.
have to do the same work, now just under somebody else.
Yep.
But small business, it's just, I mean, that's the biggest thing, the difference for us for work, besides what we do.
Yeah, you
But
actually get to work with
I,
the owners.
yes, I have a meeting with them weekly. We discuss. I have ideas. I can bring it straight to them. They want me to implement them. We do that. They ask how, they always ask how you're doing. I always ask them, I ask about how their kids are doing. We have that sense of connection, and it's easier for me to work and want to work harder because it's not just like they're good people, but like since this is their lives, I see they're putting effort into it so much, and like they're so nice to me that like the effort I put into it helps them out, and
Yeah.
in turn they help me out a lot, like benefits, pay, things like that W-2 employees get that is incentivized.
Mm-hmm.
Those incentives come down to me, and I think that's how us as business owners kind of, when we talk on this podcast, that's what we talk about. Because when we have employees one day, we have the business we want to be able to touch their lives. If
Mm-hmm.
that person is doing good for me, I do good for them.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. And that's something else that we should probably go down the rabbit hole with is in a way for me working for corporate, especially at one of the corporate jobs I was at. I'm not currently at it, but at one of them,
Yeah.
I had someone who passed away.
Yep.
And you know what they did? Absolutely nothing. They didn't care about anything what this person did. They didn't acknowledge it. They didn't do it. I found out from a coworker. That's how I found out.
Was it an email notification or announcement or meeting or anything like that?
No meeting, no get together.
Mhm.
And what's frustrating is I was close with this person, and management knew this because we obviously sat together. We talked. So it's hard not to see that, but not pull me aside personally
Mhm.
and tell me. I was done with that place. My mind, that's going into the mindset is they don't care about someone, they're not going to care about me. So why do I need to be here?
Yeah. And that's huge. I mean, if it's a small business like that, I mean, one person passing away or randomly not, something happens in their hospital, usually the business takes the toll that day. That personal connection, everybody feels it at that business.
Yeah.
And I think the small business world is what is going to change things to make it more personal. I think we do see that. And maybe that's something we should do in another topic, is how we're seeing the market and um, kind of business in general moving towards that stuff right now after COVID, and as our new generations kind of take over and new things are implemented. But I mean, the mindset, just if you're at a small business and it's working and it's good for you, it's easy to have that ability to help out. And as an employee, that's all you have to do is make it easier on the owner.
Mm-hmm.
As the owner, we were saying that every failure there is on you because you were the one that came up with those.
Mm-hmm.
And is that, I mean, how do you get through the failures that you've had?
I think I just accept it and I try to grow from it.
And were those easy to accept and grow from?
No, especially when you have, for example, you weren't completely into the business world and getting the feeling of, oh, I'm not making money. Oh, I'm not, especially like for the first month, I felt I was pressured. I had to make money. And so what did I do? I just kind of did whatever people wanted just to get a quick buck. And that hurt me slash my business because I hurt, my business hurts. And it was kind of like a tough mental thing because I wanted to make you proud
Mm-hmm.
as a spouse, as a partner, especially because obviously we had 2020 hit everything was going haywire in a way.
Good joke.
Yeah, pretty much. So I wanted pride and I wasn't getting any pride. So I was hurting. And that ended up meaning my business was hurting. So I had to learn from that I can't make everybody happy. And I'm going to not get money some months because I'm either, say, burnt out, or I just don't know how to market, or being perfect in a way.
Mhm.
I couldn't do it. And so it led to me being burnt out completely, where I'm thinking, am I even good? Like, should I even be a business owner? Am I worth being a business owner? Do I have the mental power to do this? And it just made me think of my why. And my why is ultimately, you know, my dream place, my dream future.
Mhm.
And I want it bad enough that I don't care if I'm not good. Yeah, in the moment, I'm so upset.
Yeah.
But long term, I just jump the hurdle.
Mhm.
The hurdle's intimidating, but I get over it eventually.
And so you said like it took a while. You eventually got over the hurdle.
Mhm.
It didn't happen overnight. That's just something I want to make sure that we reiterate to people is like those failures, they're there,
Yeah.
they hurt. The first few ones take a long time to get over.
It could be over a year to get over.
That's how long mine took. When
Yeah.
I fit my, when I did the real estate, nothing went right for me. And
Hmm.
it took me, yeah, about a year, maybe a little bit more. And I had that burden, I had that failure just riding on me that entire time. It affected everything I did,
Yeah.
every relationship I had. And it was hard to get over that failure because, and this is something that kind of goes back to my upbringing too, is that like when I failed something, like it wasn't something that could ever you
You
couldn't come
could
back.
fix.
Yeah, I couldn't fix. I'm a fixer, and when I failed, I couldn't fix it.
Hmm.
So when I failed this, I kind of stopped. Like it was hard for me to keep going on
Hmm.
the real estate and what was going on with it because I failed so hard. It felt like there was no way to fix it.
Hmm.
And I couldn't fix it. And I'm a fixer, so like I failed. It's done. I can't move on from it.
Hmm.
And that was hard. I mean, it took me a year before I finally was able to like I
Yeah.
think I didn't talk to you about it for that long too. Like it was
No.
just hard internally. I
Yeah.
couldn't get over it myself.
And I think, I correct me if I'm wrong, but being a spouse and in business together, you felt like you were failing me, just like how I was failing you.
Yes, I did because a lot when I look back, the hindsight being a bitch in 2020 and everything, you know, hindsight showed me that I didn't do almost anything right when it came to the business, but nothing right as a spouse and a partner when it came to that too. I barely taught you. I barely showed you financial. I barely showed you group contracts. I did everything wrong with that, and that all contributed to my failure. And I had to accept that because I didn't do those things. Um, that I failed and I could move on from it. But during that time, I didn't feel like a good husband. I was not a good business owner. I was not a good business partner. And you know, the things like anything that happened that was any hardships we had, I took those personally because I thought I caught like the actions I took that failed. They felt like they were all caused by me for a year and a half or a year
Mhm.
and a few months. So everything that didn't go right for us in that time frame just added on top of that for me.
Yeah.
And
And I
that
think,
took me a long time till I was able to just talk to you about it and I brought it up.
mhm,
And it was nice for me to look in the mirror, so to speak, and talk about it. And I,
mhm,
I told you my failure and I told you how I felt and I told you that like I wasn't a good spouse, business partner, anything like that. And then I felt like that was just a huge stepping point for change for me. My mindset shifted so much, but it took a year. And so like I don't know how you felt watching as my spouse and my partner seeing that, but it felt like in that time frame that it was all downhill plateau. And then once I made that decision and changed my mindset on failure and how stuff went, stuff just my mindset and stuff that we did took more purposeful steps and have gotten
Oh, yeah.
better.
No, I would definitely agree. I felt as a spouse in the sense and a business partner, there's nothing I could say or do to make you feel better without you getting upset.
Mhm.
And I'm sure I was the exact same way, which is the hardest thing. But we had to learn when to put our spouse hat on and when we put our partner, like business partner hat on.
Mhm.
And we had to actually specify to each other at the beginning, okay, I have my business hat on, so I'm going to tell you exactly my thoughts
Yes.
as a business partner. And then I was like, okay, as a spouse, I just want to fix everything for you because I want the world for you.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, with your failures and everything too, um, I did see you fail. I saw how hard it was for you. And
Mm-hmm.
there did come a point when I think you crossed that line like I sort of did, where you told yourself it's okay, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just told me, I think you were just straight up with me about like you're putting this pressure on me and I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I think that was important. And you had both your spouse partner hat on. But I think the biggest thing that people can take away from this too is that you have to be the one to do it, to make that mind shift set
Mm-hmm.
and just accepting what happened and going forward and learning from it.
Yeah. And I do think communicating is a
Yes.
huge thing. I think we wouldn't have gotten through it if we weren't open with each other.
Yes. And I think that would be hard as maybe, we're business partners, spouses, or spouses above business partners on this. But it would be hard if you were just business partners, not spouses. I think it'd be a little bit more difficult because I mean, from what I hear,
Yeah.
partnerships kind of are a marriage in themselves.
Yeah.
But I would think it would be a little bit easier to not open up as much.
Yeah. And I think you could speak more about this than I could, being in a small position, like a small business position right now
Mhm.
versus corporate. Because right now in my corporate world, like even I guess I was in small businesses prior, but majority of what the small businesses I was in was like the owner would, if there was a business partner, they were just silent partners. And so I've never been in a position where I've had multiple partners within a small business. So I'm not very well versed with this
Yeah,
versus,
what I've seen and what I do. Yeah, I would say that
yeah,
the partners that I work with, they are very um communicative. They do speak their mind. They're older than us, and so I know they have more experience and they probably learned the hard way as well. But yeah, they do have more experience and they do bring up stuff that, pisses them off or that's hard for them. I think that does come with, experience and age, and I think that's something that I look forward to more and more one day is being easier to communicate towards other people, not caring about other opinions as much, and which has gotten easier over time, especially with this real estate failure I've had, is my mindset of caring about what other people think, avoiding conflict because of that drastically changed.
I noticed that with contractors
Yeah,
or property managers.
yes,
You're more apt in getting into the conflict
hmm
so they don't put you in a bad hole.
yes, and that's something that I would agree that mindset comes with. It's growing and understanding that conflict is a normal thing. How you approach it is key. And
Yes.
how I was approaching it was very
Passive?
passive, yeah, passive, subtle, not really standing up for myself. And now I approach it where I know there's gonna be problems. I want to address them first.
Yeah.
And I've gotten there, and it is such a mind shift because I do think that's helped us on the last few months, just everything we've done. I've been able to talk to lenders and brokers and things like that on stuff we're doing. Um,
I know for me, being in corporate world, um, I've been, in the sense, put in my place,
mhm.
so I don't get a voice.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, and even you've told me, is when we go out with friends or when we go do social events, it is harder for me to say stuff like I would normally say stuff, in
Mhm.
the sense when, as a business owner,
Yeah.
like if I had the business mindset, I say more and say my mind in a way.
Yeah. You're more confident in yourself.
And that's what you said is, but being in my place, I'm put in a predicament where I can only say certain things. I can only do so much, just because I have the mentality that, oh, someone's going to yell at me because they didn't like what I did,
Mhm.
but they yelled at me because I did what they told me to do.
There's just never a win-win scenario.
Yeah.
And being put in that, I mean, it does that I think is a major thing. And I'm so glad we're talking about this subject and you have this experience because you have that business mindset first, then that W-2. And I know a lot of our viewers, a lot of people listening, and even clients we get are going to be no more of a W-2 to business. So
Hmm.
they're going to start with that mindset. And then they're going to try to go into business mindset and not understand. They're going to be like, the first failure is going to be really hard.
It hurts
It
so
hurts
bad
so much.
because you expect to be in your place.
You expect someone to yell at you, something bad to happen, which it might happen, but you expect somebody else to tell you. You
Yeah.
expect somebody something, you know,
And with business, the worst things you can hear pretty much is, I don't want to buy your product because I don't believe in you,
yeah,
or no.
yeah.
Where at a W-2 job, you're like, oh, you did this wrong. You did this wrong. You
The
did this wrong. And then they show you what you did wrong, and you're like, but that's what I sent this to you this way. So did you change it? Or
yeah,
like, what am I missing?
and then
Because as a business owner, you're like, let me figure out what I'm doing wrong. So that's your mentality. And when you're at a corporate level or a W-2 level, they tell you you did it wrong, but you can't figure it out.
because they just need it to go. They just need that cog to turn. So they just need you to be a perfect cog without you doing anything to become a perfect cog. So
Yeah.
you have to fit in there, right? Exactly right away, no questions asked. And when you slip or you mess up as a cog, then you get in trouble, and they just put you back in there. They don't bring you out, try to refine you, make you a little bit better, so that you're a good fit. No, just force you back in there. So
Yeah.
then, like you said, what do I learn? And having that business mind, now you're kind of going back and forth. You have both of those in your head because once you have a business, you can never stop thinking about it
Hmm.
because it's relies on you.
Yeah.
So now every day you get these, and you're like, "Well, teach me," and they're like, "No." Figuratively, I'm just summarizing that up, but you're like, "What I do wrong?" They tell you, and you're like, "Okay, well, how do I do it right?" And they're like, "You just do it right." And you're like, "This isn't how this works." And then they
Yeah.
get mad because you're not flowing. You're
Yeah, you just keep
stopping.
making the same mistake.
Yeah.
But this is just personal opinion, and it just feels like, when you start trying to branch yourself out, for example, like into a business, um, they're going to try and draw you back in.
Oh yeah.
And by doing that, they're going to give you quote unquote pizza parties,
Ooh,
or,
maybe
like
some pepperoni.
get-togethers to meet your coworkers and try and make a connection.
Happy hours, so that way
Happy
you
hours.
you want you get that sense of community, so it's harder to leave.
Yeah, or like game days, or I'm just trying to
They do
think.
like things like bracket challenge and
Yeah.
then Final Four stuff, and they do things around the office to kind of get everybody
make
there.
that connection.
So then it's harder to leave and do a thing on your own. It's kind of like puts up the blinders, the golden goggles.
And same with, this sounds bad, but oh, you did this wrong, so you're not good enough.
Yeah.
So it makes that mentality of, oh, I'm not good enough to own a business. Why should I even try? Like, I can't even do, like cut a box right.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to operate a business and make money at the end of the day?
Yeah.
So you get pulled back in,
They
and
do
you
a lot
don't
of
do you don't do your ultimate dream if you want to run a business. You just have to do it. And it sucks being in two different mental places. And something I've noticed is having like I know I did this last night or the night before. I asked for a pep talk.
Yeah.
Because I was in such a bad mental state that I was not good enough. That I needed a pep talk that I can run a business. I can do this. I can figure out how to bring my voice back.
And I think like that just proves that one major thing we talk about all the time, and I think you said it too, is like, you know, they keep pulling you back, they keep doing this. So you have to start with why.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, that is the top of your mindset. Maybe that's the foundation. Bookkeeping episode, we had bookkeeping. This one is not, we're going to have the pyramids going on all over. The pyramid of your business is the foundation of your business mindset, your entrepreneur spirit is your why. This will just pull you through everything. And when work has a pizza party, and you're like, it's not that bad. And then you look at why, and you're like, well, I like a pizza party, but I could have, if I do everything right and I do the things I want to, I could have pizza parties every Friday night for my family and our friends.
Yeah.
Because I can afford it. I could take Friday off, prepare pizzas all day,
yeah.
have make the yard look like I want. That's something you can do because you have that why. So that you just keep, when you get pulled back and like you fall down, you get beat down, but you get back up because of the why.
Yeah.
And the other part you said too is the pep talk. That comes to what we as like a coach do for clients, and then what we do with our networking group is we have this group of people who are similarly minded. They're business owners. They've gone through this. They have their whys, and they're like, you tell them what happens, and they're like, yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry to hit, but you got to keep going. Like, I think you're doing the right thing. And these other people who they have stuff going or they're doing stuff too, it's kind of like that becomes your actual community of people who are doing the things that you want to, the similar things. And you kind of create that little group of people through networking, through meeting and things like that. And that just, they hold you accountable. They hold you up. They pep talk you. They help you with stuff like that. And I think as business owners too, we've learned that like, we're not alone in this. And that's why we did the podcast too. We want people to know they're not alone.
Yeah.
And just having that little mastermind community you create it helps you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the things we've done, even if they don't go through or whatever, we've taken more steps because of some of the people who we've had in our group that have helped us. And they help us in some small shape, way, or form, or they help us with something they think is small, but it propelled us.
Yeah.
And same with us. I mean, some of the failure I had with the contractors and everything. I mean, someone who's one of our friends who's in real estate as well. He asked, what do you ask contractors? What do you do? I've never had to do this before, but you have. He's
Yeah.
he's not our age. He's older. He has more experience with other stuff.
But
But
that was something we had experience in
yes,
because we
we went through it. We failed. Even if we were
failed.
successful, he would have asked us because we had experience.
Yeah.
And we were in that group and that helped him out. He's helped us out. I mean, that's just having that why, having people to help you pull you through these hard things of mindset. That's kind of what I was getting at. I don't know if that sounds good to you.
Yeah, I would agree. Obviously there are certain groups that you may be a part of that they don't understand your world.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to support you, but they just don't understand,
They don't know
which
how
is
to do
perfectly fine.
it. Mm-hmm.
It's you just it's one of those caps, like those when I was talking about, the spouse
Oh yeah.
cap, the business partners cap. You have to have just a friend cap on because there's people that don't want the business world. They
Mm-hmm.
don't they like their stability within a W-2 job.
Yes.
And that's something we don't like personally. We like riding roller coasters in a way,
Yeah.
which
Some days it's
we
going up,
fail a
some days
lot,
it's going down. Yeah.
but it's what we enjoy.
Yes.
Where it's okay that others don't understand. And that's like you were saying, that's why we're creating this podcast, this community, because there's so many podcasts out there. But sometimes it just feels they're too peppy in a way.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
tell
missing
me how
some.
you are failing.
Yeah.
What did you do wrong? I don't understand because I'm burnt out, but yet you're living the life I want to by not being burnt out, but you just magically got there.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Exactly. So, and sometimes you just hear like they bring people on and they have great experiences and they talk about what they're doing and they give out very helpful suggestions,
Oh
but at the
yeah.
same time, it's like you're saying, like you just don't hear about the bad.
Yeah.
And one of our friends in real estate as well, he was taught we've talked a lot about some podcasts that we listen to, mutually listen to. And I'll send him something or we'll talk and I'm like, I heard this one and like I just don't get how they can bring these people on. And he's like, they have no like it's supposed to be a brand new business or new real estate podcast, like for people who are new, but like sometimes you listen to that and you're like, that has nothing to do that. Those people never get close. Like their experience is so much different than it actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just like somebody bought one and then the next one they bought 50 and then 80 and now they're retired in 3 months. And that
Yeah.
you're like, that doesn't like
Like,
that's
tell me how you did that in a
like I
way,
want to
but
know, but like the odds of that happening are 1 in a million.
yeah.
What I want to hear is the 99 in a million one people who go through the same exact thing I'm going through because of that. And that's something
Yeah.
I think that we're doing is we never heard anybody talk about the mindset until we started getting into the groups. And then we heard other people's mindsets.
Yeah.
And
There are other podcasts and other YouTubes that talk about mindset, but just didn't work for us
yes,
personally.
it just didn't hit us. And that
Yeah.
was something I think that's why we did this is we just weren't getting what we wanted out there. So we're hoping that this is what people want.
Yeah. And if it's not, it's at least,
Helping us. I
yeah.
mean, we talk and we bring up these topics and we'll get better at talking to other people.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset shift
And
we have right now.
if we help one person
Yeah.
out of millions, that's what matters is that one person got something from us. And that one person could go and make amazing things happen.
Now, what if that one person, you know, starts something and hires people twice as much as the average salary for that position and helps all those people out? And it's just a water effect. Like they
Yeah.
one person, so maybe we help more people through others, but that's what our hope is. And you know, I think it does bring a good point of we had these failures, we had these things, we never did this before, and now we're growing substantially more
Mhm.
than we have because we shifted our mindset. We did
Yeah.
this podcast because we can bring up those things, and it's making us grow because we're learning how to do this, how to talk,
Yeah.
and how to address people and bring up situations that are hard and people might not understand or they're looking for it but they're not sure how to find it. Somebody's not explaining it right, and maybe we get better at that. And
Yeah.
this benefits us too. This is part of our mindsets where we want to growth. We're taking on new things and we're okay with the changes. They're
Yeah.
scary, they're hard. This
Yeah.
isn't easy.
No, it's tough seeing like a comment saying you're not good or
You don't know business at all.
yeah, and you're not worth doing this and you shouldn't be talking. It sucks seeing those things. Like it hurts, but what do you do? Like you just kind of bite the bullet and you keep moving forward because ultimately you know yourself better than anybody else knows. And one of the mindset, self-worth. It hurts for that time being. And then how do you talk yourself out of being, oh, you're like whatever that mean comment says? How do you get out of it, kind of thing? What do you do to get out of that mindset?
I have to think that like when I see those comments, it does make me angry. You know, it kind of boils me down, and I want to get back at that person, but at the same time, like I have to think. I think of my why, and in order to get to my why, I have to be productive with my time. And addressing someone who like that isn't productive with my time. Somebody took a time out of their life that they will never get back to tell me I'm bad at business. But I don't care. Like if they were giving me constructive criticism, like I've allowed, like my mindset now allows for constructive criticism. Every time I talk with a client and I get a project done, I'm like, what could I have done better?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we had someone ask about bookkeeping and they said no. And then I said like I asked for a constructive criticism and they gave me a bunch of new like points on like what I did right and then what I did wrong that steered them away. And when I addressed those things, I said I took what I did wrong or what they didn't like. I went back to what I did to get there and I redefined my strategy. This person just telling me I'm bad at business. This is not doesn't help me at all. Not constructive at all. They're
Mm-hmm.
just trying to make me mad. So I have to just let it go because it's just not worth my time, not worth my why.
Yeah.
But when someone does give me constructive criticism, it's worth my why. I've learned because that person that told me what I did wrong, and I went back and I looked, I went back to them and I said, I'd like to approach you with a new update on this. And they're like, yes, let's go over it because I addressed all their points and missed one. And now that I went back and redefined my process, I can address all their bad points and they get a solution that helps them. We get a solution that betters us because I'm okay with hearing no. I'm okay with hearing why something was bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay to hear just that I suck.
Yeah.
It's just like in one ear, not the other. Has to be because I'm just not going to be productive. And if I waste my time on it, then what I want, my why, gets harder to get and takes longer.
Yeah.
So even with it and stuff at work, I have to try to do that too. My my work why is always different. So I'm
Yeah.
trying like and work has a different why to it than my business.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately my business why is my personal why.
Mm-hmm.
And the work one is underneath that. So it has to line up with my personal, but work also has a different why. And when that one, I have to do the same. I have to try to, if someone says I suck at accounting, but they don't tell me why, then I have to let it go. But if they
Yeah.
tell me why, I'm able to figure out what I can do to better myself at that.
Yeah.
And it's hard,
Yeah.
hard to let hateful comments go and look past them and just I don't know if putting a smiley face on the replies is good or not. Might be just because I'm a little petty, like to be passive aggressive.
Oh
So,
goodness. Yeah.
but that's kind of how I can get by on those comments like that. And I think that's because of the growth I've had from failure and allowing myself to fail. Just allowing that, realizing what I did wrong and that I can improve because that failure doesn't stop my life. In
Yeah.
school, I don't know how you felt, but when like I failed a project and it felt like it was done. Like I could never go back and fix that project.
Mhm.
So like it felt like it was done and your grades always diminished. and it's always going to be low. You can't do anything about it.
Mhm.
Whereas in, what we do with projects, if we failed it, we can just go back and fix it till it's done.
Yeah.
And we're going to be mad because it's going to cost us money and time.
Yep.
But we learned that going forward, we can do something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's okay to fail, but school doesn't teach you it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that goes along with the whole mindset thing in the sense school isn't designing us to be business owners. Let's be
No,
let's
it's
be
not.
realistic.
Yeah.
So we get, what is it? I forget what school hours are,
I think
but
it's 8 to 3. Maybe
something
guess.
along.
Yeah.
So we're designed to go to school during that time. We have to do certain projects, certain aspects, and then we get to take it home.
Mm-hmm.
So at work, I get to go during a certain time. I get to do certain projects in a certain time, and then I get to take it home.
And if you fail those projects, usually even at work, you don't really get a chance to go back. Like
You're
somebody,
done.
yeah, somebody will get mad at you,
Yep.
reprimand,
Yep.
take it over, take it away,
Yep.
do it again, do it for you, and then you don't get a project, or you'll get bumped down, or
Yeah.
something bad kind of happens. And when you're in business, something bad happens and tough shit.
You
Tomorrow you have to,
fix it.
yeah, you have to move on the next day.
Like say you were working on a wood sign, for
Yeah.
example, and say your kids or your dog ran through the house and you were working on it, put their paw prints or the footprints on it, and you're supposed to ship it out the next day.
Or in an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just like you don't want to get upset because you are working on that. You didn't in the middle, say the middle of the living room, you didn't tell them what you were doing. You just have to deal with the consequence. And you have to remake it before you ship it because who wants a footprint, like a little German Shepherd paw print on it? I think that would be kind of cute.
Fine with you.
But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I want to see a muddy footprint on
I
there.
wanted a product that didn't have that in the picture, so that's what I expect. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's just one of those face the facts, or you accidentally break a glass.
Mhm.
You just have to accept that you dropped it. You gotta pay the cost, and now you have to get a new one.
Yeah.
But you fix it,
Mm-hmm.
and you get like
And you move on, and then you
yeah.
you learn, and you make it so that way that doesn't happen
Like
again.
how do you prevent from that glass dropping, or how do you prevent from people stepping on
Yeah.
that?
So now you're not gonna work in the middle of the living room, and you're gonna communicate. Maybe the dog stays inside when it's moody and you're working on stuff.
Yeah.
So then next time it's easier, it's quicker.
Yeah. You learn the solution on how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something with business is you have to do it quick. You don't have time to think about it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but you have to know how to do it right. And that's something you were talking about earlier, that because of your failure, you know how to do it quick now.
yes. The confidence in that experience. I mean, your experience kind of drives your confidence because I know how this situation happens. I know exactly what to get in front of.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, okay, for instance, we had a bad property manager. The next one, list of questions, all the issues I had, and I asked them, and I didn't care if they were mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the property manager we used wasn't mad. I actually loved that we had questions. Had a great conversation with them. It worked out best because they're like, oh, this person came with questions. They're prepared. If they're understanding of what's going to happen and their understanding of this, they're going to address situations. I'm going to address situations.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be as needy, and so my experience with them is going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how that went. And I think that's how a lot of things should go too. Is if you're ready, they're ready. It's going to be easier. Like, I mean, if we want to purchase a business and we have someone who's willing to sell it, compared to someone who's not even the owner, like the broker who's talking to us, it's a whole different conversation.
Mhm.
And in our experience with having that before has helped that, oh wow, this is a different, you address it differently,
Mhm.
and it's easier to do it after experience. But we had to fail that first time, and then this next time we did it, it worked so much better, and
Mhm.
it's just much better. So like I think allowing yourself failure,
Mhm.
understanding you can grow from everything,
Yeah.
and learning that you need to be confident in yourself, even if that involves you failing,
Yeah.
I think is huge.
And that's something I know I personally struggle with, especially being an introvert and being put down a lot as a person. I struggle with confidence. And for me, I feel I need pep talks. I need to talk to you to make sure, like, am I good enough? Am I worth this? And that's what I feel in a way helps me. And also a good amount of sleep helps too.
Ah, that leads us.
But I feel definitely getting another person's perspective. Am I good enough? Am I worth this? Am I worth the time? Helps me feel a little more motivated than, yeah, turning on a TED Talk that super motivating, but not for me personally.
Yeah, I think that goes hand in hand with realizing that humans are, I don't necessarily, they're social creatures. I almost want to say a herd pack, like a pack mentality, so to speak, but we're meant to be social. We're not meant to be alone. And having that group that you either network with, um, my family's not huge into business.
Hmm.
Most of them, they gloss over when we talk business to them, and they don't. It scares them. They don't care. I have a cousin who he's one of the most supportive people I know, but he doesn't like he knows some concepts of business because just some of it becomes second nature. You hear about it all the time, make common sense. But he'd be terrified to start his own. He wouldn't know where to do. And I mean, luckily he has me and us if he ever wanted to. But like even for me, it's nice to have that connection and a conversation with him. He's not a business owner. He doesn't do anything business, but he's still supportive. He
Hmm.
still talks me through. Sometimes it's not like I don't want a specific answer or something like that. I just want somebody else to be like, "You're doing good. Just keep going."
Yeah. It's
And
just
it's
nice.
nice. I think it's needed, and that's why I think like having a network or having some accountability person, someone in your corner, you just need that. We're social beings. We need
Mhm.
team, and I think that mindset is you feel like, especially when you're doing your own startup and you're your own person, you feel like you got to do everything in your business. So then you're
And
like,
it has to be
it's got to
perfect.
be perfect. You have to do everything. And so when it starts getting to be a lot, this will lead into our next subject. Like you're not the only one. You can talk about it. There's other people out there who are wishing for your success,
Hmm.
and you need them, and you
Hmm.
need to move. Like you have to get past your mind that you're the only person. You're not alone.
Yeah. And the people who don't really care, like, about business, you just kind of, I don't want to say ignore, but you just don't acknowledge their hobbies in a way because they're not acknowledging our hobby, which business isn't really a hobby.
More of a lifestyle.
Yeah, but still in a way, you're just like, well, you just bashed me and say you're my best friend or a family member. So how am I supposed to take this?
Yeah, those are some of the hardest ones. It's happened, I think, both of us.
Hmm.
Maybe even from the same people on both sides of the family, but getting like, when you talk to somebody that you thought was in your corner or that you thought would be supportive and they just shoot you down, like how do you get past that?
Yeah.
And that has to, again, you have to have a why,
Hmm.
because like it's shocking. It'll take you a little bit to get past that one because out of all the people, you expect a stranger, you expect maybe people at work if it's not a good environment, um, and maybe a couple friends who are not like close friends or a little distant friends. You expect that from them, but like when someone that you grew up with or family member especially that you see all the time, just puts you down on something that you thought was going to be your life. It's hard. It hurts. You feel so betrayed.
Yeah. You feel like, okay,
Then
maybe
you,
they're just right and I shouldn't start this.
yeah, you really do question yourself. And like, how do you get past that?
I talk to you.
Okay, that's what I do. I talk to you.
Yeah.
So, but then you have someone in your corner who supports you. That's what you go
Exactly. That's
to.
what for me, that's what I need is I need someone to talk me up because they understand what it is I want.
Mhm.
They know my end goal. They know my dreams. And they just heard someone put me down. Usually it's just, well, they don't understand what you're going through or they're scared, so they're acting out.
Yeah,
So there's really nothing you can do. It's just you have to ignore it.
I think that's another thing that I've learned too, that I just, you saying that brings it up to me is like being aware that since humans are emotional, something like that would scare some people. And
Because it's a huge financial
yeah,
thing.
and
It's
we never thought, I mean, I never thought I was going to have a business or do any business stuff. I'm sure you didn't. So like when we first started having a business or even thinking about it, it was terrifying.
yeah.
And we had a why and we went forward. But to somebody else who, that would be scary, and that kind of might trigger an emotional response to them that like they're scared imagining themselves in that situation,
Mhm.
so they don't want themselves to be in this fearful situation that you actually put them in by talking about what you want to do. So that scares them. So then it is something you have to be aware of and change your mindset to. You have to also, when somebody gives you a response like that, you have to think about what they're in their situations. Are they acting emotionally? Why did they say this? They said this because they're scared of doing it. They're fearful of losing everything they have. And so they made this choice. They made a decision, whether it be a mistake, something, they gave you an emotional response. And, emotional responses are, they, almost everybody tells you to never make a decision off of emotions
We all do it though.
because we're human. And as long as we acknowledge that, then it's easier to make decisions and to see things, situations, and understand. And yes, we're business people, we're more analytical. I'm bookkeeper. I like to look at finances. We look at that. Yes, finances are good. We can make a decision, but we'll still make emotional decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that happens, and you have to just be okay with that. That's
Yeah.
like failure too. Like you make an emotional decision, which I did for my failures, then I have to learn that it's okay that I made an emotional decision and it failed. Not just because I made a failure, but I made an emotional decision because I'm human.
Yeah. But you have to learn to grow from it though, in a sense. So yes, it may have been an emotional purchase,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, you have to figure out how do I surpass this emotional purchase? How can I make it a good purchase at this point
Mm-hmm.
or a good business move? Because there's a chance where it's not a purchase, it's more, oh, I made a bad business move. How do I come back from it? Because, for example, I took 6 months off of doing anything business related
Yep.
because I was emotionally hurt.
Yes. We had several passings in our group of people we knew, family, friends, situations like that happened just, and it was 1 month, next month, the next month, I mean, it was hard.
Yeah.
And then, that was, then it was a trip to go fix our rental. And I mean, it was 6 months of just constantly hearing this roller coasters of emotion, the constant feeling of failure there too,
Hmm.
combined with it. And that, I mean, that was a mental hurdle. We had to get over it. But I mean, like you said, took 6 months. We took that away from our business.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything business wise at the time. We didn't prepare ourselves for something like this to happen.
Yeah.
So we we failed in the preparedness of a business for situations that were out of our control.
Yeah.
And so how do we come back from that? The 6 months, how did we come back from that? What did we learn and what do we?
I definitely felt like we had to talk about our own personal, because it was both of us where we were going through this. So as a spouse, we just had to talk and let our emotions out. And then as a business partner, we had to start picking each other back up. And yeah, that was silly hard, but at the end of the day, we learned what we needed to do and what we wanted to do at the same time, not just need. We wanted to help people who probably have gone through the same things we have gone through. And that was our end goal, is let's do it together
Yeah.
rather than separate. And that's where I feel our businesses and us as people, we started merging together. Does that mean you still own, say, you own part of the business, I own part of the business? No, it's there's still where I own a business, you own a business. We just help each other with the businesses because we know our strengths and our weaknesses from going through that experience. And with that experience, yes, it sucked, but I learned, okay, I just am not good at, say, social media. I need to just release all that to you. I'll help you, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And I need to get help on how do I gain more confidence in this subject or when I go talk to people. And that's still a work in progress.
But you're aware of it.
But I'm aware of it because you brought it to my attention, and I try to fix it, but it doesn't mean it happens overnight.
And that's something I think another thing with mindset is like these changes. And that's why I think it's great that we have these failures that were months long. Because I want people to listen and hear that it's not something where I failed or you failed or something happened to us that was out of our control, like these deaths and of family and friends. And we were able to just, boom, bounce back. And oh, I failed. This happened. Okay, we're gonna move on. It took a year for me to have, it was, what was it? It was about 6, 7 months of failed, like, after my failure, that I had that, and then the next 6 months was the failure and the deaths continuously before I was able to actually acknowledge what was going through me emotionally, bring that to my attention. Then I could, if I was by myself, I would be able to address it differently. But since we're in a partnership and a marriage, we do need to be on the same page on everything. And so because of that, like I got through the mindset, but like when I was thinking about doing things and reaching out to people that would affect both of us, I couldn't do it until I brought it up to you about how I failed, how everything was hurting, and the stuff I was going through. And you listened and you were telling me like that's okay. It's okay. You like that, like now you know what are you gonna do to move on. And then you encouraged me to take a step. And after that next step, we've taken off like crazy in 3 or 4 months.
Because our confidence went back up.
But we addressed all of our failures.
That too.
That I think is the big thing, is that you have to kind of have a, look in the mirror moment and address that. Hated that. That sucked. I did that. Yes. Like I hate it and might regret it. But you did it. It happened. Now what?
How do you fix it?
Yeah. Can you fix it? No. What can you do to move on?
I was going to say it taught you what not to do for the next one. So the next one is going to be a piece of cake, right? Yeah. Like there'll be bumps, but it'll be nothing like that first failure.
The same mistakes will not be made.
Exactly.
Because of that. And that's going to make it, like you said, make it easier for the next one. And then the next one will have more mistakes. Yeah. And then the next one after that will be easier because I'll have more mistakes under my belt and experience. But the biggest thing was just being okay with that.
Yeah.
And, that is something that I wanted to add. I think what you were just saying is like, when all those deaths happened. Like, yeah, the failure, that's a whole getting over accepting your decisions, accepting things that you did,
Mhm.
how life went, and what your responses were. Now, this other mindset piece you have to also come with is how to accept and move on from things that you couldn't control, and
Mhm.
things that had nothing to do with what decisions you made. They just happened, and now
Mhm.
you have to live with them.
Mhm.
And that's something that, it is hard. And I think that's what we went through. And what you were saying is we had to bring it up, not just to each other, but like you had to look in the mirror
Mhm.
and bring it up that this person passed.
Mhm.
And, if there's any regrets with that, like I never got to say hi, I never got to say this and didn't see them. I missed this part. You have to say that and accept it. And then, for us as partners and spouses, we have to talk to each other about that.
Mhm.
And
Because we both affect the business.
yeah, we are the business. Small business, as the owner, you are the business. It relies on you.
Mhm.
With stocks, if something happens to the CEO, the company's stocks go up and down, the value of it does. Same exact thing with the business.
Mhm.
If something happens and you step away, your business is going to go down. Your value is going to go down because you
Mhm.
aren't there. You are your business.
Yeah.
And that's what we've learned is when we stepped away, everything in our business got harder to do.
And harder to come back from.
Yes.
Just like starting, 'cause we were gone and we started the podcast. That was hard to start because this is something we've never done either. But still, with social media, like for Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that, we're not good in a sense because it's still hard to come back. Um, it's not easy to just be like, "Oh, I'm good. I can do this now."
Mm-hmm.
Or now it's more, what do people want to see? How do we, because we transitioned from just me to both of us. And I was like mostly equine because that was my studies. And now we want to help all businesses because for us, we we want all businesses. We're
Yeah.
not just one entity anymore.
And I think we also, not just like general business, but we also, I think, are catering to people who are new to business.
Hmm.
Because I think that was something that we didn't really have that. We took
We
courses, yeah, but
we took courses. I purchased a mentorship,
yeah.
but it wasn't a good fit for me.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna say I'm a cheapskate, so I wanted to just hear a podcast, or I wanted to chat with someone who was actually straight up with me, not, oh, it's all good, or I think I talked to someone during a mentorship, and they were like, oh yeah, they failed at this, they failed at this, but then somehow they got a good mentorship, and now they own like $1 million home. And I'm just sitting there like, what what did I miss? Like I failed, but I'm not living in that $1 million home. Like there's a gap. What happened within that gap? Like, did you win the lottery? Because tell me your numbers, kind of thing. So, and that's what's just struggling for me is because I want to, and this is why we're doing the podcast, is because I want to bring something that I felt like I needed at that time. And maybe that's something that some of our viewers, like, they may need to hear it, but there'll be other ones where they're light years ahead of us, and this isn't the podcast for them, which is that's fine.
Yeah.
But we just want to help that one person to get out of the mindset that we were in and
Hmm.
that we struggled, especially as new business owners and everything costing more, inflation, all the stuff.
And also, I think going with that too is we talked about it in our intro episode too, but we didn't come from families that had businesses, had
Yeah.
too much money. We were probably both poor, maybe very low middle class, and we're pushing out of that.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not hard. And we never heard about this before.
You mean it is hard?
That
You
it's
said
not
it's
easy. It's very hard.
yeah.
Just some words. So we want people to understand that too. Is like, yeah, you might be in a lower middle class. You might be poor, but we want to also show people that it is possible to get, to your why. We think that in order for you to get what you want, you have to have why. You have to be able to change your mindset. Let it change.
Yeah.
Like you have to
That
be willing to
it
change.
changes all the time.
And that's business in general is always changing. Ford started with the Model T, and that was the only, you could get whatever color you want as long as it was black. It was their motto when they started because they didn't change. Now look at them; they have different models, obviously different colors. They're always expanding. Businesses change, and people have to change too.
Hmm.
And that's something that I think is hard to get past,
Hmm.
especially if you're by yourself.
Hmm.
And we have a coaching client. We told them, we were talking about mindset on like coaching him through that. And I think that's one of the biggest differences between the mentor you had and what we're doing is like, I don't think you talked about mindset and what happened, and it just wasn't personal. It's like
Yeah, it didn't feel
what
personal.
what we want and what you want to do for coaching is what we're offering now because it's like if we would have had that.
Yeah. I would have felt different
Hmm.
about the business. And maybe I could have earned more income. Who knows?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I didn't feel that connection. And then also, personal feelings come in as well. Those questions where am I good enough? Which always take a toll.
Yeah.
Like those aren't easy
No, they're
questions.
not. They happen to all of us. I know I get those still. It happens. If I make a mistake at work, constant mistake, things like that, something happens. It's just we all feel that way, and it's your mindset you have to be able to let it like feel those feelings. It's
Mhm.
okay, but you can't be stuck there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's tough.
it is, and I think this perfectly runs into the last question because we've been talking about so much is how do you deal with mindset and burnout? And are you burnt out right now?
I slept last night, so I'm a little better.
Yeah, charge the battery a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do feel burnt out, but it's more not like how you get physical burnt out and mental burnt out.
Yes.
I am so mental burnt out because in my opinion, I feel like a failure majority of the time because that is how society is treating me right now.
Yes.
And it hurts. Like it makes you question everything that you do. And all you want to do is curl up either on the couch or in the bed and just put the covers over your head and be like, I'm not here. Please don't leave a message after the bleep. And it like you just for me, I start getting questionative of myself. And to boost me back up, I'm usually, hey, can you help me boost my confidence back up? Because I know you know me sometimes even better than I know myself, but it's still how can I get out of that mental state that I'm worth moving forward? Like
Hmm.
how do I get out of that place?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's hard to answer your question being burnt
I
out.
was gonna say being burnt out, you're like, well, if I knew I wouldn't be here.
But at the same time, I know the only way I want to better myself is moving forward in business because that's how I'm going to get what I want without people screaming in my ear telling me I'm wrong every day.
Hmm.
And I just don't want to hear that. I and with my business, the person who's going to tell me that I'm wrong is just not going to buy whatever I'm trying, like my service or my product, whatever I'm
Or maybe it's even
providing.
constructive and it allows you to grow more.
That too, but that was a different rabbit hole
Sorry.
that you went
Yes.
down. Train of thought left.
Ooh, my bad. Yes, so I know with me with burnout, I have been getting there recently. And it's been a lot. And I know for me, my burnout fix is usually I need to have stuff done. It's not a priority that week, which the only way to know that would be to schedule, which we have an episode on. But I would play games and get lost in that. And hopefully not die, because if I die, I'm still failing and I'm like getting more burnt out because I'm failing at the game too.
Yeah.
But it does take like a while. Like I gotta get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
I gotta escape from everything going on. And that's the only way I can get my mind to kind of reset. But it is
That
hard
was
when you're,
guiding forces for me.
yeah,
So
and
I feel you on that.
hard now because now we don't have that opportunity. So it
Mhm.
always, like, your burnouts, they kind of last longer because you
Yeah.
don't have that.
I
I've
don't have enough.
noticed. And I think another thing too is allowing yourself to do those things. Like for me, it's hard to play games because I'm like, well, I could be playing games or I could be doing these things.
Mhm.
But it's one of those where if I treat myself to playing games, it might be easier to do those things.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do like have that internal struggle of like I could have done something more productive,
Yeah.
but by letting myself kind of relax, it does make it more productive. So it's a that is a lot of mindset stuff.
Yeah, my mind hurts
Your
from all
mind
this
hurts.
mindset
My
stuff.
mind hurts, and we hope your mind hurts a little bit from all this information.
No, please don't.
No, never mind. Don't
Yeah,
hurt.
don't hurt.
Don't hurt.
We don't want anybody to hurt.
We want your mindset to be beautiful and perfect
Yeah.
and not hurt. So
I think we should probably stop this podcast. I think we're starting to,
we're losing our minds.
yeah.
So if you guys have any questions at all, mindset, anything we can help discuss, we are on Benner.Stride.com or Facebook or Instagram at Benner.Stride.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's good.